least amount. I don't know. All right. Good morning, everyone. Looks like everything is working today. And there he goes. Where is he going? But yeah, looks like we're working. Yesterday we had some technical difficulties on the streaming side. They weren't able to let my guest in for some reason, but here we are. So we got Chris Invest LYH here, and we have a new person on. If you haven't checked his interview, I interviewed him recently. He's on my YouTube channel. But we have Ike Hobbs here. So welcome, Ike.
What's up?
Can you try say you're a little soft? Trying to say something?
You hear me now?
Better, yeah. Okay. Yeah, introduce yourself real quick to the people on the live.
Yeah, I'm a beginner investor living out in Midwest, Wichita, Kansas, to be exact, and doing more of the buy, rehab, and hold forever type strategies. So got a couple under my belt. Then did a lot of analysis paralysis for many years, and then finally hopped into it 2022 pretty hard and going from there. So.
And you are an introvert, right? No.
I asked a question about introversion. I would say yes, I'm more of an introvert. One-on-one conversations are great. Big crowds, not my thing. So,
But you are doing great. You're putting yourself out there, and we can dig into that a little bit later. But our main topic today is going to be kind of what's going on with BiggerPockets and David Greene, either quitting, getting fired, whatever your opinion is on it. But yeah, so maybe Chris, you can start. Have you followed BiggerPockets from your journey and whatnot?
I have. I looked at BiggerPockets when I started doing. I think yesterday you talked about following Clayton Morris, and I don't know how I came across his YouTube channel, and this is a couple of years ago, but I came across it. He led me to Mike, and then that just kind of brought about everybody else. And then, but along the way, I was like, okay, well, where else can I go? I can't watch these videos all day. What else can I do? So I did find the BiggerPockets forums, and I found the BiggerPockets website. And I joined, I don't know how long ago. I honestly haven't been active there probably for at least 2.5 years, maybe. The podcast that I did listen to, a little fluffy for me, and I just, I'm more about, I think that Mike and Matt and Dion talked about it the other day. I'm more about actual process that I can follow than hearing the story of the barista who went from 0 to 25 in 15 days. There's a lot of times there's things there that we are unaware of that I think play a role. And I think this actually ties into my economics background. When we look at a model for economics, there are a lot of variables that maybe we don't think play a role. But when you look at the model and you break it down variable by variable, they actually do, because variables together can have a combined effort in the outcome. And I just kind of stopped listening to BiggerPockets. I love the forums. We have our local meetup here in Lynchburg. There's a lot of people. I have a keyword alert whenever Lynchburg hits, and I always invite people to come to the forum or come to the meetup, because it's fun to meet other investors and just kind of talk to them and see what they're doing. If they're from out of state, there was one guy who he invests down in Tennessee, which is very close to Lynchburg, about an hour, maybe 2 hours away. And he drove up to one of our meetings one day, and I started talking to him. And he used to be a teacher, and then he moved down there and he started doing investing. And I'm like, how did you like to drive? And he goes, I have a Tesla, so it drives for me. I never knew that. I was like, that's actually pretty interesting. I'm not really a car guy either, so don't tell a lot of the other people on the channel. But it is very interesting. And yeah, BiggerPockets has just, to me, not necessarily held up its end of the bargain recently.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And welcome, Kobe. I know you had an interview on your podcast, so you're kind of running a little bit late, but Why don't you introduce yourself? Your first time on the channel, I think, actually, right? So, but yeah, introduce yourself real quick, man.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes behind schedule. I was finishing up another podcast that I was doing. But yeah, man, really appreciate you having me here, Mark. My name is Kobe, and as you can see from my name tag here, I'm a real estate agent with EXP. I've been with them for about 4 or 5 years now. And, my main business is to grow my team of agents at the company. So, I've been involved in real estate in that perspective for 4 or 5 years now. And it's interesting we're talking about Bigger Pockets today because that's kind of how I got into real estate in the first place. Was Bigger Pockets was the first kind of resource that I ever listened to as far as a podcast, and also in the forums as well. And funny enough, that was actually how I ended up finding finding what I'm doing now, and finding EXP was through the Bigger Pockets forums as well. So but yeah, it's interesting what's going on. So.
Yeah, well, thanks for doing this, and I put all you guys links in the comments if you want to go check out Kobe's YouTube channel, find him on LinkedIn, Facebook. I got Chris's YouTube channel up there, and then even Ike's. He's on X mainly, but we'll get him on a YouTube channel building soon. But yeah, go check it out. I got Hyder. Thanks for stopping by. Hyder's channel's in there also. What were we gonna say, Ike?
I don't know about a YouTube channel. I'll just stop my shit on X and go from there. So.
Yeah, well, I think all of us had maybe some contact with Bigger Pockets at some point along the journey. So what about you? Like you said, you consider yourself maybe a newer investor. So how does Bigger Pockets fall in your journey?
Newer investor, but like I said, I did a lot of analysis paralysis, and I was involved in real estate, not as an investor for quite some time. I think I listened to them back when they were first started, when it was Josh Dorkin, I think was the name.
Really?
Back when I had iPod, doing the iTunes, all that sort of thing. And then 2015, I really got into it, but I think that was Brandon Turner and David Greene at that time. And I still like Brandon Turner. He's doing something different, but really for me, like I kind of hopped off the Bigger Pockets train because I still get on the website like every couple of weeks, but there's not a lot of value to it for me. And then listening to David Greene's podcast, like I like to listen to things while I'm working. So it was good to like get a high level view for me, but just for me, really, David Greene kind of went a different direction with all out appreciation. And that's not what works in my market, and also not really a strategy I'm comfortable with. And then his other partner that was on there, I think it was Rob Abasolo.
Mm-hmm.
I almost say his name wrong, but he was doing all Airbnb. So like really just over the last couple of years, it's not relevant to what I'm into. So I listened to it here and there, but I wasn't a big listener anymore. So overall, I just think kind of grew each other, and Bigger Pockets was going one way and David Greene's going a different way, and it is what it is. I don't see it as like a big dramatic thing, but once you get big enough, like you can see David Greene's got some plans. I would be shocked if he doesn't have a course out here in the next couple of months that you can sign for and pay a bunch of money for. Like, I agree that he's just getting people into his funnel, but at the same time, like he's got a right to do that, and I have no problem with it. So,
but how relatable do you think he is? I think that's the big question. And like you're saying, they kind of are going in different directions. So, I mean, have like Chris, have you seen anything from David Greene recently besides maybe the most recent ones where he kind of maybe took a shot at Zuber, if you want to say, but have you watched anything recently from him?
Well, I watched that video, and let me answer this first. You asked how relatable is he, and I would say how relatable is Grant Cardone, but he has a significant following. So there is an avenue for that to exist. Now, in terms of Greene himself, I did watch that video, and I left a comment on there. It was like 4.5 minutes in, and I was still getting sales pitched first. And I actually thought about this morning when I was watching. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Patrick Bet David. He does his podcast, right? He's a salesman at heart. And I don't know if David Greene is a salesman at heart. And Patrick Bet David on his podcast, he does a great job of providing all the information, and then he adds in that sales pitch. And I think that maybe there just needs to be some refinement there with Greene. I don't know his background as much as I know Patrick Bet David was an insurance salesman. So he has decades of having these conversations independently, and now he just puts it in front of a camera. Whereas I don't know if that is what David Greene was like. But yeah, it was really, again, it was kind of salesy, and I understand that. I think that there is a place for that. For me, I'm more of a, what is the process that you used? I know I won't get the same results, but could I get similar results?
I think the interesting thing too is, and that's why I brought Kobe on, because he's, like you said, he's EXP. It's kind of known as a little bit more of a sales type of brokerage and whatnot. I mean, I'm sure you hear the same things, right, about EXP as being more for recruiting agents and not like sales pitch wise. So like you say, like Chris said, right, there's an audience for that though, right? So like, what kind of like, how would you say like the maybe the negative feedback that people are saying about being sales pitchy, what David Greene is doing, and relating that to what EXP does?
Yeah, are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It's it is what it is. I watched one of his videos yesterday. I think it was the one on like why he left BiggerPockets. I couldn't find the other ones you guys were talking about in the previous lives. I think it was like 50 minutes.
Yeah.
It was like supposed to be like a 20-minute video, but it was 50 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting what he's doing. I didn't know David Greene was not like I always thought they were all just owners of BiggerPockets, right? I always thought him and Brandon Turner and Josh, they were all just owners of BiggerPockets. I didn't know he was working for BiggerPockets. So, I think for him, it makes sense that he's starting his own brand because, I mean, obviously what happened with him, he's no longer hosting the BiggerPockets podcast now. And it kind of speaks to the importance of like whatever you're doing. If you want to kind of put your own brand out there, I see everybody here has their own YouTube channel. Like it's important, right? You might not get like a huge audience, like, you might not blow up overnight, become Grant Cardone, but it's important that you have your own following and people can hear, what you're talking about, right? I think Chris, you were talking about Patrick Bet David. One of the biggest principles he talked about in his book, The Next 5 Moves, is, why do you need to have a social media following? And that is because you can now control your own narrative instead of having somebody else control your narrative, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing.
So true.
Yeah. So I think that's what, what he's doing now, what David Greene is doing now. He's got multiple businesses from what it sounded like he was talking about. And yeah, so, there's a time to pitch and there's a time to provide value. And I think, based on kind of what he did for many, many years of BiggerPockets, he's probably earned that from the audience that's listening to him. And I think it's, for him now, it's just the time to pitch.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think going back to what Ike kind of said too, I think it's just really blown out of proportion, but it's fun to talk about. I think it's a great talking point. And like you said, Kobe, right? David Greene has every right to do what he's doing. He's very successful, and like Chris said too, right? He has an audience, just like Grant Cardone. He has his own audience, and certain people are gonna relate to that. I think the biggest talking point for us, or maybe issue, and I'm glad, like I kind of mentioned quickly on that, trying to do the live yesterday until we had some difficulties, but I'm glad Zuber didn't come out with a video right away when he was kind of upset about what was said, right? Because I think now when he looks back on it, David Greene's not okay. Of course, the name thing, that's kind of insulting. But other than what his message was, there's different ways to reach a certain goal or journey, right? So I don't think he's really saying that there's only one way to do it. He's just his way of doing it. He's looking at it a different way. But definitely, I'm glad Zuber didn't come out initially with a video, because I think that would have led to something. But hopefully they can connect on something and put something out together. But yeah, but there is a comment on X too from Fermata. Thanks, but he says, yeah, Bigger Pockets hasn't been the same like 4 years ago in his opinion. So I think people do see the change. They went a different direction, and like Ike said, right, like they're really focusing on like short-term rentals and different strategies and like no money in investing. And I think it's just maybe the community that we're around, we just that's not really our flavor, I guess, in a sense, right? So yeah, all nighter hider. Brandon Turner is a speaker at Limitless in Dallas this year with McElroy, Gammons, Kiyosaki, etc. Yeah, right there. Great. Some other names too, right? Like Kiyosaki. He has a following, but he also rubs a lot of people the wrong way. A lot of people are just, this guy's nuts. But I'm sure everyone at some point read Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? For the most part, right? But same thing, right? And he's actually a great marketer. I mean, people either love his stuff or are definitely talking about it. Have you guys all read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yeah, that was the first book that kind of got me into everything.
And do you guys agree with a lot of his things, or his recent things, I should say?
I thought you said you didn't want us to get canceled.
Well, let's test the limits here. We're back on the air today. Yesterday, I thought they were suppressing us. I was just joking around though.
They might after this. So. No, Kiyosaki is like a big influence in my life, but I really don't listen to him regularly either. Just because he's doing stuff that like is out of my depth or not stuff that I'm able to do or want to do on some of it. So when you're starting at the bottom, people that are still around the bottom, a couple of rungs up, that's kind of who I listen to and try to talk to. And then every once in a while, I poke my head up and see what the big guys are doing. But Kiyosaki is kind of, I think he reached escape velocity and he's on a different realm right now. So, and good for him, but not where I'm at.
Got Mark,
and I'll jump on into that as well. He wrote a great book, and I think he followed it up with a few other great books as well. I think Cash Flow Quadrant is much better than Rich Dad Poor Dad for me, but I read Rich Dad Poor Dad twice, and the concepts kind of went in my head, and I needed that next step. And Cash Flow Quadrant, I think, gave that to me. That's a foundational piece in my investing strategy. And I think just because lately he seems a little out there, doesn't discount what I have already learned from him by reading those two books.
Yep, very true. We got Lars here. Thanks for stopping by, Lars. He said,
I agree with that
100%. Bigger Pockets was brought down by the company being sold to a private equity firm. This is common in corporate America. Yep, very true.
I think that happened several years ago, though.
Yes, when Dorkin left, I believe. Josh Dorkin left.
Right. I'd say it kind of reached, for me anyway, it kind of reached its height during 2017, 2018, which was after the equity firm had it. But if you get on there, like it's a lot easier to use anymore, but there just doesn't seem to be a lot of quality content. Either seems to be way overboard or just stupid stuff that's like, well, yeah, that's obvious.
So Colby, I know you have a lot of touches with different agents and everything. Do they still seem to be I guess putting their information or contact information on Bigger Pockets, you think?
No, funny enough, like there's not a lot of agents that even know what Bigger Pockets is. And you'd be surprised at the amount of people that have not heard of it, who are like licensed agents or in the industry who I guess claim to be investor agents, right? Because there's a difference, right? But it's funny because we've been at these conferences, for a couple years now, and Bigger Pockets has been like a very they've had their own stands for like the past probably 2 or 3 years to try to promote. I guess I'm only guessing it could be like similar like a Zillow type of thing where they're giving out leads to agents, right? Because now in Bigger Pockets, what you can do is you can put in like, hey, I'm looking for this type of property here, and then they will connect you with an agent. So I guess that's going to be like kind of one of their new income streams, if you will. So they're trying to appeal to agents, but just kind of from what I've heard, they're not, people who've been in that program haven't necessarily gotten the results that maybe they would have liked. So it's just kind of what I've heard.
And I will say one thing about that as well is BiggerPockets reached out to me and they did interview me, not the website or the YouTube, but the management about that exact thing. What was I looking for in a property manager? We had this whole list of questions. It was about a half-hour interview, and they're trying. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. One thing I will say, and this kind of pertains to people who are in the real estate industry and anybody who's in a service-based industry, because Ike mentioned that the website is much better, and I agree with that. I do think that they did a lot of improvements on that. When we talk about the private equity versus Josh Dorkin, was the website serving the customers or was the conversation serving the customers? Because Josh Dorkin understood that it was all of us together and answering questions and offering insight. That was what was serving the customers. It wasn't the website. And when private equity comes in, they're looking at it and they're like, oh, we can improve speed, we can do this. Did they really lose sight of what was really driving the traffic to the website?
Great point. What do you mean they reached out? How did they reach out to you?
They reached out to me through, because I'm active in the forums here and there. I'm always pushing Zuber, Dion, Coach Carson, everybody. Now I'm pushing Financial Firefighter.
Yeah.
They just reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested in talking to us about property management? They asked me how many units I had and if any of them were out of state. So they had like this pre-questionnaire as well that I had to fill out. And then they said, would you mind sharing about 30 minutes? I think it was 30 to 45 minutes. I was like, absolutely.
Chester, what's up? Thanks for stopping by, man. Hyder also says, unfortunately, Kiyosaki is starting to lose his mental faculties and is repeating himself very often. Yeah, he says some wild things right now, man. But it's fun. It's entertaining. But what, you were gonna say something, Ike, when I cut you. Sorry, man. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just agreeing with Chris that like the conversations just don't seem to be near as relevant or quality on there anymore. So I can remember back 2015 when I was using it a lot that like I could find out a lot about a market from just going and looking at keyword searches. And now, like I said earlier, I'm on there about every couple of weeks, just kind of looking at my notifications, but don't really feel like adding to a conversation or seeing conversations that I'm wanting to jump into just because it all seems like a lot of froth.
Because now you're not a newbie, man. You're
I don't know
you're getting out of your shell. You're getting on YouTube channels and interviews.
I'll add to that because I search a lot of different finance terms and financial strategies, and some of their old posts still come up. Yep. They're kind of relevant, but it was a different market back then, and we have different types of lending standards, but they still have that.
I think from what I've seen, they're moving a positive direction. The rookie podcast that they have, and I forget the lady's name, Tony Robbins. I remember his name just because I mixed him up with the other Tony Robbins, but that's a pretty quality podcast, and I'll listen to
Ashley
that
Care?
every now and again.
Ashley Wilson. Ashley Close.
I'm terrible at names, so
I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, and if they move more in that direction and start going back to beginners, like I think that'd be a positive step. But I don't know, like if you're looking at a private equity, whether that's like a good financial move for them. So
yeah, Ashley Care, Wealth Winning Journey says that's her name.
Ashley.
Yeah,
sorry.
Real Estate Rookie Podcast. But yeah, Chester's working on his deal in Detroit on his first turnkey property. So hopefully it closes soon. Oh, by the way, Chris, Kobe's a Bears fan. I didn't tell you that yet.
Is that really true, or are you pulling my leg again?
No.
Yeah, no, I like the Bears. If I have to root for one team, I guess I root for the Bears. So.
Well, I guess everybody didn't see Drake May yesterday then.
Oh,
I'm not. I'm not a.
Mark,
I don't
Mark calls me a front runner because I have enjoyed
yeah.
the Patriots for my entire life. So it's obviously that I'm a front runner.
Are you local to Boston or?
That's where I was raised. Yeah, I was raised out there. I was born in Massachusetts. Then I moved around a lot. So
let me guess, you're a Chiefs fan now?
That's Mark. He's a Chiefs fan now.
One bandwagon to the next.
No. But Chris is in Lynch, Virginia now, so
Yeah.
you go check out his YouTube channel. He does a lot of economic stuff. He does a lot of cool stuff on there. Let's see. What did Wealth Building Journey say here? In my opinion, Ashley would be the best host for BP. Her intersectionality covers a ton of demographics: younger people, women, young families, etc. Yeah, she's a great host. Yeah, I enjoy her stuff. I think she's in Cleveland, something like that. That's her main market. But yeah, anything else? Anything else you got to dig into about the BiggerPockets, David Greene, or any other topics? I mean, I think definitely maybe it was best for him to leave though, because he definitely wanted to, I think, market more of his products or his brand, right? So it was probably hard for him to do it when he was maybe under contract with BiggerPockets. So it probably was best that they went separate ways, and now they can do their own things or go in their own direction. But man, can you imagine if Zuber responded that first day and made a video?
I heard a story a long time ago about Mark Twain, and he would read his stories that his editor cut up and made some slight changes, and he would write this just eviscerating letter. He would put it in the mailbox and put the mailbox thing up, and the next morning he would go out and he would try to grab it, and the letter's gone. And it was his wife who pulled it because she knew that he could not write them back after he read what they did. There's some wisdom and patience.
Yeah. Yep. Very true. How many times do you wish we could probably take back what we said, right?
My question would be like, I mean, we all want to grow, and eventually you're going to outgrow those around you, especially if you're working harder or have bigger goals. So that's kind of with Brandon Greene. I'm kind of like, he obviously was building a lot of different facets to a big company. So him leaving, I guess I had a buddy go down to Oklahoma in April or May, somewhere around there, and listen to a talk he gave. And he came back and he's like, Brandon Greene's about to split up. So I don't think this was like a
interesting
all of a sudden type thing. But Brandon Greene was like going a different direction is what he said, and like really leaning into some other stuff. So that's, to me, when the news came out, because of what my buddy had said, I guess I kind of assumed it was they're going to make announcements. It's going to be like this cool, like, hey, he's moving on. Kind of like what happened with Brandon Turner. But it does seem a little bit more spicy than that. So, but who knows?
Yeah, because when Brandon Turner left, I don't think there was really a lot of content too much about it, right? They kind of just went their own way. And this one,
if I remember right, they even did like an exit podcast, and he's like, hey, here's what I'm doing, here's where I'm going. And I think he's even been back on a couple of times.
Yeah.
But it definitely seemed like hey, I'm moving a different direction. BiggerPockets is growing in a different direction. Because of the fact that nobody seems to like address it directly except for Brandon Greene, it definitely leaves a little bit more questions there, but who knows?
So what do you guys think about, I know Kobe said you couldn't really find that video, but what do you guys, I think Ike and Chris may have watched it, but David Greene kind of was talking about like not relying on cash flow to retire in a sense, and maybe, getting a business or having a business to reach, financial freedom or retire early, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, if he, what is he talking about? Like, as far as a business, is it a cash flowing business?
Excellent question.
Hopefully, yeah. But he was kind of just saying like you can't rely on rental income in a sense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, it. Having rental income is kind of like having a business, right? It's just a different type of business. I think there's investing in real estate, like for somebody who has like a full time job, and then there maybe have people managing that side of things. It's still a business. You're just not managing it. And then there's people who are kind of within real estate, flipping, doing wholesaling, whatever. And that's like the business of transacting or owning real estate. So yeah, I think I've the Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first book that I ever read. So I mean, like this entire journey in real estate for me is about passive income. So it doesn't matter necessarily as far as like if it's a business providing the passive income or it's rental properties, which is a different form of business providing the passive income. Like for me, right? Like I, obviously went a different direction with EXP, right? But that's, I guess that kind of plays into what he was saying as well. It's a business. It's not, I don't own real estate. It's within the real estate industry, but it's a business and it's cash flow, right? So I think if it's not. I guess like I don't like to overcomplicate things in my mind. It's just like there's stuff coming in and I'm not having to work for it to come in. It's good, right? So that's just me. I don't like to overcomplicate it.
Yeah. I mean, so like Chris, you could probably touch on it because you had a business or right on the side, and then you're also
Oh, it was
building a
my
real estate
full-time
portfolio.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We left our careers and we started a cookie shop in Texas, and it was brick and mortar. We had a lease that we had to sign a personal guarantee on, which that does not leave you if the business fails. You still have to pay that lease payment we had a 5-year term. And the thing that I love about real estate that I did not love about that, because all the metrics showed that the income level in the area was fantastic for this. Our margins, where we created a cookie for about 25 cents and we sold it for $4, those margins work. The only thing that you cannot access running your own business is the actual income. Zillow, Redfin, Rentometer all provide you with area average income for rental units. It's called area average rents. So now you have a baseline for your business to say, this is what my income is expected every month. These are what my costs need to be. So I understand what he's saying, and there are some things to be said about people who have an entrepreneurial spirit. But when you do not account for variable income, which it happens, you open one day, you might have $1,000 in income. The next day, you might have 100. But when you know that you have a steady stream of income over a year period based on the area average rents, I just think that real estate is a much better option than businesses for most people.
And there's not everybody wants to own and run a business. I don't think there's people that I'm sure you guys have brought over a lot of people in your live as well who are they don't have any interest in running a business, but they want to be financially free. So there's a difference there as well.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure if I misspoke there. Did I say 25 cents a cookie? It was 75 cents. But still, it was a very significant profit margin.
Fake news, man.
I know, fake news. Yeah. Don't tell Axios.
But Chester was just about to open up a cookie business.
It was fun, but I will never have a brick and mortar business again. For me, it's not for me. And the thing is I read Cash Flow Quadrant, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and you have to have those assets. And he says, are you an employee? Are you an entrepreneur? All that. Well, I tried it. I thought I was. A few months into it, I realized I was not. I was very fortunate I was able to sell the business. Because some people, they don't have to. When you do not sell a business, you still owe the lease. You may have leased your equipment. You may have all this capital equipment that you cannot get rid of in your geographic area. So now you need to sell it to somebody in Florida from Texas, so you got to ship it there. there's a lot of associated costs for failed businesses, and I think that's something that people should understand when they try to go about that endeavor.
Ike, what about you? You gonna start a business?
Been there. I think we'll get some things like that. Versus Cal. I live West Coast and appreciation's a lot different out there versus where I'm at right now. Things appreciate where I'm at now, but not much. So that route. But also, like as a beginner investor, banks don't look at you got equity properties. They go, what are you in and what's so like at the beginner level, the cash flow is going to be important because I got to come back and say, hey, that duplex I bought 2 years ago now makes me this much money. And yeah, I've got a mortgage on it, but they're paying X amount to everyone. Versus if I came back $100 more than the mortgage each month in that property, another one, and it's like the banks don't. So at a higher level, appreciation becomes a much more powerful play. There's a million different ways to build your real estate business, but I think one of the easiest hacking, and with house hacking, you've got to have cash flow. Run out of room to give you another loan. So that's kind of where I got frustrated a lot with Brandon Greene. Is the more he went down the appreciation route, the more it's like, hey, this is not. I understand on a big level that's a big deal, but at the small level, it's not feasible. You'll just get into something where you're stuck, and you might have all that equity locked in, but you don't have to go and get more with that.
So Chester says, my personal opinion, if and only if someone truly wants to build a non-real estate business, get into REI and build up cash flow first. Use cash flow instead of debt to fund the business venture.
Where were you in 2019? I needed that advice.
Yeah. Well, same thing too, right? It's like you said, right? Some people are entrepreneurs, and that's their avenue, and they have maybe a vision of doing that. But like Zuber was saying, right? Ed Milet was basically saying, what, 9 out of 10 small businesses fail in a sense. So it's kind of like it's not for everyone. And real estate probably might be a safer path, a small real estate portfolio. And I think they even talked about it yesterday. That's kind of, you see a lot of people maybe changing their message in a sense, right? Like, don't be like me. You don't need 100 doors. You don't need this huge portfolio. Like I guess he said even Pace Morby came out with something talking about like, don't be like me. You just need 5. Coach Carson talks about small and mighty investor. Even Thatch Squims like saying, get to 5 paid off rentals and you're set for life kind of thing. And I think that's the message you're seeing out there is a lot of them are seeing like, hey, you don't need this huge portfolio to reach financial security or even retire early. But that message seems to be changing. But Kobe, like even on the EXP side, like, a lot of people, would you say EXP is a little bit more entrepreneurial from a, like you're saying, you're trying to build like a revenue stream on the side?
Yeah, I mean, it's a brokerage that we say like for entrepreneurs because it's a little bit different than just being an agent, right? Because as an agent, and we, we've had conversations about this. And I think the first time I interviewed you on my podcast like about a year ago, which is an agent is going out there trading their time for income. But what happens when they no longer want to work or when they're forced to stop working because of some type of emergency, right? And, not every agent is an investor, and not every agent, is necessarily in a position to invest in real estate as well. They're not W-2 income, right? They're on a 1099 independent contractor income. And, there's another discussion to be had about whether or not real estate agents should be investors or, what the problem is there. But, with EXP, you can build out this income stream that is a residual income stream that brings you, however much you want to build it out every month as far as like, the income you want to have coming in every month, but you can have your own brand, right? So, we're talking about David Greene creating his own brand. You don't necessarily have to be, within the brokerage's brand or market the brokerage's brand. You can market your own brand, right? So like, this is my brand, right? This is a logo. This is my logo. I own this, right? So it's, I get to control that narrative as well. So yeah, it's more entrepreneurial. It's more for people who are thinking in terms of building a business, being the B instead of the S in the cash flow quadrant. And yeah, it's not every agent gets it, but the ones who do, they benefit quite a bit from it. So
Yeah, I forgot. Somebody was who was going to say something before Kobe. I asked Kobe a question. Was it you,
I was
Chris?
actually I was gonna touch on what you said about doing rentals, and I was gonna ask Kobe how that translates to the real estate world. And he did a great answer of how EXP is a little different from a lot of the agents that I knew back when I lived in Arizona, who every year bought a house. And for them, it was like, we work 20 years, and then we have 20 houses, and we can do what we need to do, and we can take a step back. Whereas in EXP, correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of build out your team, and then the revenue kind of comes in based on that. Is that correct?
yeah, absolutely. You build out your team, and when agents close transactions, you're getting a portion of that from the company. And I've seen a lot of agents, what they've done is they've taken their revenue share, which is what we call it at EXP. They take their revenue share income and then take that income and invest it in a real estate, because now they have essentially additional disposable income, right? They're using their commissions to keep up their expenses, but they're taking the residual income to invest in real estate and asset classes. That's, a little bit more beneficial as well.
It's kind of like an appreciation play on yourself. As you build your team, you're appreciating your growth, your value. Very interesting.
That's a really good comparison. I'm gonna have to steal that if you're okay with it.
I think the biggest thing too is like you're not really doing a lot different. Like if you jump over to EXP or with EXP, you're still doing real estate in a sense, right? And now you're just adding another layer to it, and you're not really changing your job description in a sense, right? You're still trying to sell homes, purchase homes, talk to people that want to buy homes, but just now you're adding another layer onto how you can add more income or residual income. But it's funny you mentioned Arizona, Chris, because I interviewed this guy Zach. He's in the school community, but he made a post in the school community, basically saying like, oh yeah, he's an agent in Arizona. He was killing it. Like 5 years ago. He was buying Teslas and Lamborghini, and he was bringing in like 300K or a year, and he was buying all the toys, and then like interest rates just shot up and the market just dried up, and he was like, shit, what do I do now, right? Doesn't have this income coming in. Basically he had to sell all his toys, and then he came across Zuber talking about living below your means and building a small portfolio, and yeah, his whole mindset changed. But I think touching on what you guys are talking about too, you Kobe, also, like, yeah, when the shit hits the fan and sales dry up, like, where's your income coming from now? And I think a lot of people realize that recently in the past few years when transactions have gone down quite a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, the market's not great now, right? And then there's just something to be said about, like, if you're doing great, don't, I guess, like, buy a bunch of toys, right? There's something else to be said about that as well. But there's situations where I've heard of agents who they were deemed incapable of working because of an accident, right? That was not necessarily their fault. If they can't work, they can't represent clients, they can't make an income. So you could literally go from making $1 million a year to nothing overnight if you have, like, even just maybe like even a broken leg from, like, recreational sports, because you can't drive around anymore. So your output drastically decreases from what you're having to do as a salesperson, as a real estate agent. So those are some things to, because there's a lot of agents, the objection is, I want to work forever. I want to sell real estate forever. It's great that you want to, but not everybody gets to, right? And that's the reality of things. And it's not just real estate, it's most jobs. So
very true. So how are you doing, Ike? Because I always tease Ike that because he messaged me about the introvert kind of thing, and I don't. Do you? So Chris and Kobe now meeting him or talking to him. Do you guys think he's an introvert?
I'm kind of an introvert too. So believe it or not, I talk a lot more to the camera than I do to my coworkers. I do talk to my wife. She and I are perfectly fine, and some of my neighbors I'm fine with too. But I talk a lot more to people on camera than I do in real life. I think that we talk about how we are the people that we meet. People that I know just are not interested in this, and Mark, I'm very busy. I work at W2. I invest. I go to
Picking
school. I
fights?
also teach.
Oh,
So I don't have the time to just kind of shoot the breeze with people that I work with about things that if it's not productive.
I just said that because Chris or Invest LYH on X likes to pick fights with people.
I do not. Are you talking about Twitter? I'm not that bad. I ask questions. Sometimes people don't like to answer questions to me.
Yeah.
I guess my question for Ike is, why do you consider yourself an introvert? Like, what makes you think you're an introvert?
I mean, if I'm passionate about, I'm not very comfortable being quiet. Obviously, you can't come on a show and just be that doesn't anybody. But when I go to work, like I'm the quiet person. I don't like talking about things that are trivial. So getting on a real estate podcast and talk about how you can do stuff, learning from people that are doing stuff. But you want to get on, talk about what the weather is, or what happened with the royal family or something like that, then that's not really my jam.
Well, Curtis has stopped by PE Turn RE, so go check out his YouTube channel. He's killing it, but he's on the road to an auction, so it doesn't look like he's going to hop on with us today. But Curtis, I guess maybe somewhat, I don't know if you'd say he's an introvert, but I think you said you liked what he said, right? Didn't he say something how to go to meetups and he had an acronym for it? Do you remember what that was?
No, I forget the acronym. It's like paper.
Yeah, I know he's going to put it in there, but yeah.
He should. I wrote it down. I don't have it. But
you are very similar to me. I am the quiet guy in the office too. And I do teach Excel here at my office. And whenever the new people come to my Excel class, I tell them, I'm more than just the quiet guy in the back. I'm just productive. I try to do my work and get out, and I got other things I have to do. And it's just a season in my life to scale back. And I actually just met with a new couple last week, and they're like, we want to start investing. So I went over with them, cash on cash return. I showed them how to do that, invited them to our meetup. They had some questions about how to find a duplex. I answered some of those questions. I'm more than happy, just like you, when the topic is something that I have knowledge of, to discuss. But I think I said, hi, how are you doing? What are you looking for? Nothing about the weather.
Oh, Hyder, while you're on the road, are you heading to Gary? I haven't heard an update recently on your event in Gary, Indiana that you're trying to set up for the investors out there. So if you got any update on that, fill me in. But yeah, man. Anything else you guys want to talk about? This is a good topic. I think, like I said, I think everyone has BiggerPockets has touched them in some way through real estate and trying to get on this journey to financial freedom. And you kind of just, after that, you kind of just find different people you relate with more, right? And I'm sure David Greene's going to have a big following. And but I think, yeah, it's just not a message that a lot of us relate to, maybe. Kobe, we're going to see you in Vegas for the ORAD event.
When's that happening?
In February. What? President's Day weekend?
President's Day weekend.
Yeah.
Oh,
You have
maybe.
to
I
wear
don't have.
Crocs too, by the way, if you come.
I have to wear Crocs. I was, funny enough, you were talking about Crocs. I think it was last year. I was looking for those cowboy boots Crocs, but there weren't any in like adult sizes in stores. They're just kid sizes. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, where can I get one of these?
Did I send
Mark
you the
needs to get Crocs with
Batman one?
his tag on it. You got to get Crocs with your tag on it. The financial firefighter guy.
Well, Sierra Homes and Hustles is working on gibbets, and I don't know. She hasn't come out with any yet. She's trying to work on gibbets because we keep talking about Crocs. So we'll see what she has in the pipeline.
Oh man.
Ike, you're going to be there, right? You said, or I forget. What did you say?
Yeah, I should be there. I haven't bought tickets yet, but if everything works out, I'll be there. So I bought tickets to the last one and then got too busy with the project. So
And then you get shocked, right? If you're hanging on the walls at the event, right?
we'll figure it out. I'll just grab somebody and we'll go get coffee. One-on-one stuff. That's where I'm at. That's big crowds where I'm just like, all right.
Gary update. Let's see what Hyder says here. 2 units still being worked on. 2 units are available, and 1 is rented so far.
All right.
Got to get to capacity and refi to build back bigger. Yeah,
Yep.
they're doing some cool stuff in there, man. With the King of Gary, with Millennial Mike. So go follow their journey. And yeah, I want to hear, and we can catch up with Curtis too, because he's starting to dig into like auction stuff. So that's where he's headed right now. He's trying to get
Can
more
I ask
information.
Julie, ask you guys a question real quick?
But Curtis, of course, man.
Yeah, can I ask you guys a question? I just got an email for a property here in Lynchburg from my real estate group, Off Market. You guys get those from your meetups, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get sent deals all the time.
Very good. I think that's something that I was explaining to this couple that I was talking to the other day, and I think that's something that a lot of people need to understand about going to these events. That even if it's because Ike, when I went to Vegas, I was pretty quiet. I met maybe 5 or 6 people. I didn't even meet Mark there.
Yeah.
But I was there. I met one guy and he had this one deal in North Dakota for me. Didn't work out. But you kind of, once you get to these events, you kind of have this sense of understanding with each other. We are all looking at certain things a slightly different way. What might not work for them might work for us. And I just wanted to kind of bring that out there just for the group.
Yeah, it's a great place to connect. I mean, even if, like you're saying, you get deals sent to you, but it's just seeing what other people are doing, right? Like Curtis, like I said, he's going to some auction thing, and it's because of his network group in his area. Oh, right there, Curtis, page, place, activities, goals, and exit. So that is how he kind of approaches going to events and whatnot.
Exit is something people forget.
Exit's
Yep. It's one I got to work on.
Yeah. Yep. That's funny.
Let's touch on that. What do you mean by exit?
Sometimes, because I don't know if you've ever met Rachel, Mark, my wife, but sometimes when we're in conversations afterwards, she'll say, "You let that go too long." I got to read the signs, and I got to, because I think the other thing, and you can tell me if this is how you are, because I am an introvert. I get very excited, so I want to continue to talk about it. But sometimes other people want to move on and figure out what other activities, goals, and places they want to be, and they want to exit.
Okay, so hold on. So Chester, I think he was referring to more from a portfolio, real estate, or even a business. Know your exit strategy. But I guess you can kind of relate that to what Curtis is saying, right? So you think having kind of a not a generic way to exit a situation, but just having some sort of knowledge of it, or like you're saying, being aware of it. Like you said, sometimes you let the conversation go on too long, or you're not able to read the room or whatnot. But I think that's a great point, and I think you did touch on this earlier, right? The exit one, that's the hardest thing for you.
Yeah, especially when you're talking to that's not doing stuff you're interested in. So I do go to a fair amount of meetups, and like small ones especially. You get the guy that's there to sell his latest little thing, or the guy that's like talking about how he's been researching for 10 years, and it's like eventually, I want to move on. I want to talk to people that, for me right now, it's all about lending, finding more money. But then somebody that's like, I talked to some guy the other day that's like did 50 some units before he quit his W-2. And for me, that's pretty relevant because I've got a W-2 that I like, but eventually I want to move on from that. So put him in my friend list, pretty important. So it's when to move on from like, all right, we've exhausted all the small talk stuff, but I still want to keep contact with you in the future or something like that. That's where it gets, I don't know, awkward, I guess, is where I'd put it. But learning, getting better.
Chester also says that's for anything. Have a goal, a dream with a deadline. Yeah. Did you meet Chester, Chris, in Vegas?
I did. Yeah, he had his big notebook. He was always writing questions down. I met All Nighter Hider there too on the stairs. I remember. A couple
Hyder's
other people.
Legend. That's why.
Yeah. Well, you go into the videos and he's always the first one there. So how can I not meet him? I do think that this year with the name tags will be a lot better because I'll be able to recognize a few more people.
Yeah, I think, Zuber, like you said, it was the first event, so Zuber definitely, I think he had that on mind, and he kind of forgot about it. And yes, Chester said, I wrote everything down. I know I was the last night I was teasing Chester. I said, Chester, how much would you pay me if I stole that notebook from you to get it back? And then he grabbed it with two hands tighter. Yeah.
And Chester is not too far from me. He's just in Northern Virginia. So, I shouldn't say not too far. Virginia's pretty big. It's probably at least 2, maybe 3 hours away. If I remember, unless he moved. I don't know if he moved.
I forgot exactly where he is, but I know his property he's in contract under is in Detroit. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I think
Northern Virginia is like California now, so. Ugh.
Did you meet up with Harrison yet?
Yeah, we met maybe about a month and a half ago, maybe. We met out in Richmond. I met him and his wife. We were talking. He was asking me a couple questions about Lynchburg, and I was like, I should probably have you on you could ask me like 5 questions of what you're looking for in a market. I think that would be pretty good video. So. But then I got really busy, so.
Yeah, man. Colby, don't worry. Jump off whenever you gotta go, man.
Yeah, I think I gotta pop off here in about a minute or so. But yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. This is really fun. So.
It's always fun, man. We gotta talk Bears a little bit more Chicago Bears next time.
For sure.
Once the season starts.
Are we excited about Caleb Williams? This is the last thing I'll kind of.
Of course, yeah. He's the future, man. Yeah, he's set up to succeed. What are you shaking your head about, Ike?
Good luck.
They think he's going to turn out to be a Mitch Trubisky. That's why.
No.
He's going to get hard by somebody in the NFL. Realize it's not. Have to go find his mom.
I think I told you this, Colby. Right? So my thought process on Caleb Williams is. He kind of, maybe not the same talent level, but like Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, who stayed for their 4th year in college. So Caleb Williams was at the peak the year before. And if he came out, he would easily been the number 1 pick. But he stayed 1 more year, and he was at the top. So there was no place else for him to go. And everyone just was nitpicking everything you saw about his game, his film tape. And that's why there was, maybe questions about his skill level. But just watch, man. You guys, all you haters out there.
He stayed an extra year, and then he did well in the college playoffs.
Hold on. Curtis is banned from this channel forever.
I'm trying to remember how to.
Drake May, baby. Drake May.
Well, because he loved his mom and he was crying to his mom that he let her down. Okay. There's no.
Oh man, Kobe, it was great to meet you. Meet
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, man. We'll get you on
Take care.
again, man. Curtis, you are canceled from this lives from now on. You're done. You're dead to me.
Oh man. All right, Mark, I gotta go. Ike, it was great to meet you.
Good
Right,
to meet
Chris.
you. We'll see you around.
You guys have a great day. Thanks.
You too, man. Thanks, man. Hold on. There was one other thing I want to talk about real quick. What the hell was I going to say, man? See, you guys tell me talking about the Bears and stuff. I forgot what I was going to say now.
I've got a few more minutes.
Yeah. But there was one more thing I want to talk about. Shit, man. I forgot already. I'm getting old. Getting like Kiyosaki and shit.
Careful.
Yeah.
Was he like your neighbor? Isn't?
Who? No, I'm not that old. No, but he's from the islands. But
I kind of remember he lives there anymore. But
he probably vacations here, but he definitely doesn't like how blue of a state it is. You know, politics wise, and kind of the direction that it's going. So he definitely doesn't really have nice things to say about those type of things. I mean, he loves the island, he loves the people, and he loves, coming to visit and all that, but he just doesn't like all the other crap going on. Well put in, Journey. I don't like you laughing at Curtis's comment there. But shoot, I can't even. Oh well, yeah, I can't remember if I got to write it down so we can bring it up next time. But yeah, man, this was fun. This was good to get you on. Yeah, like I said, I don't think you're an introvert at all. I just keep giving you shit about it, but yeah, you're doing good, man. Go check out Ike's interview. I have it on my channel. We touched on what he's doing and what he's trying to do, what market he's in. So go check it out. Go subscribe and then go follow him on X. And everyone else, I put Chris's channel and Kobe's channel, so go check them out. Go subscribe. But everyone, have a great weekend and thanks for stopping by. All right, Ike.
Thanks, Mark.